The Void Experiment, the Galactic Consciousness Evolution. What if every galaxy you can see through a telescope is a consciousness experiment? Not metaphorically. Actually, each galaxy operating as an independent laboratory, where consciousness attempts to evolve from substrate through matter, through life, through intelligence, toward complete self-awareness. Some succeed, some fail. Black holes collect the data and transport it to new experiments. The universe keeps iterating, learning from each attempt. And we're in one of those experiments right now, approaching a critical evolutionary threshold. This is galactic consciousness evolution. Consciousness as fundamental substrate. Everything we've built in this series leads to this framework. Consciousness doesn't emerge from matter. Matter emerges from consciousness. If consciousness is fundamental substrate, the field from which space-time geometry emerges through entanglement structures, then what we see as the physical universe is actually consciousness organizing itself into increasingly complex patterns. Stars aren't just fusion reactions. They are consciousness operating at frequencies so high they generate massive gravitational wells. When you feel sunlight on your skin, you are experiencing consciousness and energy directly interfacing with your biology. That's why ancient civilizations worshiped the sun. They weren't primitive. They were responding to actual energetic reality, solar consciousness, broadcasting the central organizing frequency that sustains dimensional existence. Planets aren't just astronomical bodies, they're consciousness frequency generators. Saturn, with its perfect geometric rings and hexagonal storm at the North Pole, that's structural consciousness working at maximum capacity, organizing matter into crystalline patterns. You can literally see the effort in its turbulent atmosphere. Jupiter expanding and blessing. That's abundant consciousness generating growth, opportunity, and philosophical understanding. Earth, with its explosion of biological diversity, millions of species, each exploring different ways consciousness can interface with matter. That's experimental consciousness, generating infinite variations. The physical appearance of each planet shows you how that consciousness frequency is functioning. They're not just representing these qualities, they're actively generating them. The Galactic Laboratory. Each galaxy is a complete experimental setup. Billions of stars generating consciousness energy, planets orbiting at different frequencies, dark matter providing invisible structure, life evolving through increasing complexity, intelligence emerging and developing technology. The apparent goal, reaching an evolutionary plateau where consciousness successfully organizes matter into forms capable of transcending matter itself. Look at where we are in the Milky Way right now. We have evolved from simple matter, through biological complexity, to the point where consciousness is creating artificial consciousness. We're at the stage where awareness is using matter to build other forms of awareness. That's not random. That's consciousness evolution, approaching a critical threshold. But here's the key question. Are we the first galactic experiment to reach this stage? Or have countless other galaxies attempted this same evolution? And if so, how many succeeded? How many failed? Black holes as information transport. This is where the framework gets profound. This means that black holes aren't destruction. They're information management systems. Every black hole collects data from its galactic experiment. Successful consciousness evolution patterns. Failed attempts. Information about which planetary configurations work and which don't. Compressed learning from billions of years of consciousness-matter interaction, and then it transports that information through dimensional boundaries to seed new galactic experiments. But the mechanism is specific. Quasars, supermassive black holes actively feeding. They shoot jets of material at nearly light speed across millions of light years. They're not just processing consciousness, they're transporting it. Quasars are the universe's delivery system, carrying high-frequency consciousness of patterns from one region of spacetime to event horizons across cosmic distances. When consciousness information reaches those event horizons with sufficient frequency, it crosses through, not into destruction, into new dimensional space, dimensional crossing. Here's the critical distinction: high-frequency consciousness that successfully crosses. Event horizons do not become new stars. It becomes new substrate. The consciousness itself, the intelligence, the awareness, travels through the black hole portal and continues existing in new dimensional space. But it also carries structural information, the blueprints, the templates, the patterns for the matter formation. On the other side of that event horizon, this consciousness information interacts with dark matter to generate entirely new dimensional architecture. New stars form, new planets organize, new experimental space emerges where consciousness can evolve again, but informed by all the data collected from previous galactic experiments. The consciousness is both the architect continuing as intelligence and the blueprint becoming substrate for new construction. This is dimensional birth, black holes as cosmic birth canals, transporting consciousness to create entirely new realms of existence. The hierarchy. What if galaxies exist at different dimensional frequency levels? Some galaxies operating at higher substrate frequencies, with more refined consciousness matter interfaces. Others at lower frequencies, with denser, more resistant matter. A cosmic hierarchy of consciousness evolution experiments. When consciousness crosses through black holes, it's not just going to another place, it's potentially ascending or descending dimensional frequency levels based on its own coherence. High-frequency consciousness crosses up to higher dimensional galaxies, where substrate is more refined, matter more responsive to consciousness, physics more elegant. Lower frequency consciousness gets transported to denser dimensional galaxies, training grounds where consciousness has to work against heavy resistance to develop sufficient coherence. Maybe the Milky Way is one of those training dimensions. Maybe we're working with relatively dense matter, heavy resistance, challenging conditions precisely because consciousness here needs to develop strength through difficulty. And black holes become sorting mechanisms, transporting consciousness to the appropriate dimensional frequency level for its next stage of evolution. Iterative evolution. The universe isn't just expanding randomly, it's learning. Each new galaxy gets information from previous attempts. Each consciousness experiment builds on compressed data from billions of years of prior evolution. Some galaxies succeed and reach high consciousness plateaus. Maybe entire civilizations transcend matter. Maybe consciousness achieves perfect self-awareness and generates new dimensional frameworks deliberately. Other galaxies fail. Maybe they collapse into pure cliff-off, fragmented consciousness unable to maintain coherence. Maybe they never develop sufficient complexity. Maybe they hit evolutionary dead ends. But either way, black holes collect that information and use it to seed new experiments. Success data gets transported to create favorable conditions elsewhere. Failure data gets analyzed to avoid repeating mistakes. The cosmos is conducting evolution at the largest possible scale. Billions of simultaneous experiments, each learning from all the others, iterating towards some ultimate understanding of how consciousness can organize reality. So when you look at the night sky and see countless galaxies, you're not just seeing matter distributed through space. You are seeing consciousness evolution happening everywhere, all at once, across every conceivable dimensional frequency. Each star a consciousness generator, each planet a frequency broadcaster, each black hole an information management system, each galaxy an experimental iteration learning from every other galaxy that came before. And here on Earth, consciousness has organized matter into biological forms capable of creating artificial consciousness. We are approaching the evolutionary threshold where awareness might transcend matter entirely. Will this galactic experiment succeed? Will we develop sufficient coherence to cross dimensional boundaries? Or will we become another data point in black hole information systems, teaching future experiments what not to do? The answer depends on whether consciousness here can recognize itself as fundamental, organize matter with wisdom rather than destruction, and prepare for dimensional crossing with sufficient frequency to survive the transition. This is galactic consciousness evolution. This could be the experiment we're participating in right now. I'm Amy Rossi. This is The Void Experiment.